If you are interested in starting your own podcast, we use Buzzsprout because it is simple and easy to use. Buzzsprout can get your show listed on every major platform while giving you the resources for a great podcast website, audio players that can drop into other websites, detailed analytics to see how people are listening to your podcast, and tools to promote your episodes. Podcasting isn't hard when you have the right partners, and that is why over 100,000 podcasters are already subscribed to Buzzsprout to get their message out to the world. Following the link in our episode descriptions lets Buzzsprout know that we sent you. So in return, you will receive a $20 Amazon gift card from Buzzsprout while signing up for a paid plan. Most importantly, every subscription through our link is always appreciated and helps support our show so we can continue delivering the quality content that you guys listen to. That being said, back to the show.
Hello and welcome to Comic Book Junkies. I'm Andrew.
This is Joe.
And today we have the Deathisode. So we're going to, have a little bit of a discussion about a few different topics about the matter surrounding death in comic books. What's the most pointless deaths? There's plenty of them. And, what are the most well done? And we'll also discuss why do only some people stay dead in comic books while others don't? So, Joe, you want to start us off on this?
Yes. So to answer the question, why do some characters stay dead in comics while others don't? I would say comic book readers don't take deaths in comics very seriously, first and foremost, because very seldom are the deaths permanent, unless you're Harold from the Hush series. Listen to that episode if you want to understand the reference. But anyway, characters are often brought back because of copyright reasons and the stories being told. In order to keep telling stories, their best properties have pretty much become immortal. So, for example, a little while back, there was a series called The Death of Wolverine. And with that being said, there's way too much money invested in the characters like Wolverine for them to actually stay dead. It's important for DC and Marvel to keep making money off of these properties. So, the reason I think death is even introduced in the first place is because it can evoke an emotional response from the reader, which makes for like an attractive plot tool for the writer. It gives the stories more stakes, drama, conflict, which makes the stories more engaging, even if we know that they're going to be brought back some way, somehow. The beauty of it is that the reader also wants to know how they will be brought back, which then brings more attention and response from the reader. The only reason some characters don't stay dead is that there's so many different writers that want to give their take on the character, which makes it really difficult for a lot of these characters to stay dead. And in addition to that, with the introduction of the multiverse, it's easier to resurrect these characters now more than ever. So the reason some stay dead is like Uncle Ben and the Stacys in the Marvel universe or Batman's parents in the DC universe is to show that not all characters are bulletproof. So when they introduce...
What, dude? You just treat them like pincushions?
Pun intended.
Got that.
Yeah. When they introduce a storyline where a character dies, we have to keep reading in order to determine whether or not it gets resolved or not.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Everything you said, cosign. That was very informational. I didn't come in that prepared, dude, like you. And it's crazy because, I agree with you. Once you brought up the death of the Wolverine storyline, like, here's a little flash forward. That's going to be one of my most pointless deaths, in my opinion. Printing anything with Wolverine in it is like printing money. There's no reason to take a break from it just to, move someone up into the mantle, which we see nowadays oh so much. It might be, a successor, or at least it should be if there's one established, or they're just gonna go ahead and just replace the character with someone random. And for like a year, or even as short as 6 months, especially when Marvel was doing this every week. I mean, they still are. Isn't the death of Doctor Strange something that's coming out soon? They did the death of the Inhumans after they did death of Wolverine. They love death over there. But I love DC on the other hand, who has some really tasteful ones, which I'm kind of foreshadowing again, into more of the well done deaths. Barry Allen, dude, in Crisis, that was a really well done death. And I like the death of Superman and the impact it had. There was a lot of good things that came out of death over at DC that I like. I mean, look at the death of Robin, even Jason Todd. I said that one's kind of pointless.
Interesting. So I guess we can get right to it, unless there's anything else you want to add to why some of the characters stay dead and others don't.
My bad, dude. I was just kind of blurring the lines there of what we're discussing. But yeah, why some stay dead while others don't? I mean, yeah, there's really nothing I can say that you didn't. I mean, what would they do if they brought Uncle Ben back? What are you going to do with that then? It's like, just leave it where it is. I'm glad that they have at least some respect for only a couple characters across both companies, honestly. Everybody's been brought back in some form or fashion. Even Batman's father is an alternate Batman now. And, you know, Gwen Stacy, the original one's been dead the whole time, but guess what? There's a Spider-Gwen, so they're still trying to capitalize off that. It's like, she's not really dead anymore if we see her so much, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But Uncle Ben, he stays sleeping, dude. He's on a box of rice, you know?
He's sleeping.
Yeah. But other than that, dude, let's change gears and talk about some pointless and well-done deaths. I feel like this could be a really fun discussion.
Okay, so I'll start with the most well-done deaths. Most well-done deaths in comics, I think, was Superman in the Death of Superman story, which we also reviewed very early on.
Great episode.
The reason I think it was the most well-done is because it was the very first time that a significant character passed away in comics other than X-Men's Jean Grey in the Dark Phoenix saga, which we also reviewed.
Plug. Whoa.
Although there was never any intention of Superman staying dead, it was the first time they really focused on pushing the boundaries as to who could die and who couldn't. This led to a lot of writers trying to experiment with that same concept, but I feel as though the shock value's been lost since. But I do have some honorable mentions. Even though Superman was my favorite, Bucky died very early on in comics. They brought him back as the Winter Soldier. I thought that was classic. Jean Grey was also a very well done one, although she proved characters of that significance cannot stay dead. It just doesn't work. Also, probably the most deserved death because of how many people she killed as the Dark Phoenix.
True.
You know, that one was actually that one made sense. But I also liked the Gwen Stacy death. Even though she's not the main character of the Spider-Man story, this did have a huge impact on the whole Marvel universe, as there was a lot of history with her character prior to her passing, as opposed to characters like Uncle Ben, who were created with the intention of passing away. And then I guess here's our disagreement. I thought Jason Todd was a good death. Some junkie knowledge for the listeners. Jason Todd, who is the second Robin, was killed off in the comics by the readers themselves. In the late 80s, DC decided to push out a poll as to whether or not Jason Todd should die at the end of the storyline, A Death in the Family, and the readers got to vote on it, which is why I think that was a cool idea and something fun for the audience to engage in. But let me ask you, what were your favorite deaths in comics before I go to my pointless ones?
So a lot of my list overlaps with yours. It's honestly mostly the same, you know. Gwen Stacy, Superman. Well, I mean, you could even add Captain Stacy in now too, because he was like a cool dude for Peter back then. So it's just like, you know, just having him die all of a sudden, like, things were not so good for Spider-Man at that point in time. But, you know, Superman, it was just impactful. I already said it earlier, Barry Allen in The Crisis. So, you know, being the Flash and, you know, sacrificing himself so that the multiverse had a chance. And he stayed dead for a while too. And Wally took over, and that was cool. But, you know, I like Barry back. You know, I love the Silver Age, so I thought that, you know, I just like the Flash, so I thought it was cool. And then, honestly, Captain Marvel at Marvel, because, you know, he was whooping on some dude named Nitro, and like the gas ended up like causing him cancer, and he had like this whole like original novel type deal, like dealing with it, and he like slowly succumbs to it, and it's crazy. And it's just like, and he's been dead since too, and they haven't brought him back, and it's just like, that's kind of cool. And, you know, that's kind of what set up Carol Danvers and all that. But like, I thought that was kind of cool. It was well done, and kind of that they respected it, and they're letting the dude finally rest. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna bring the guy with cancer back? It's like, bro, he had enough first time around. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, it's Captain Marvel. It's like, why couldn't we bring him back? You know, it's like, it's not like he's like one of the pillars of our company. You know what I'm saying? Like, we could use him somehow. Maybe we could make him a Skrull. But it's like, but anywho, I think it's cool. So yeah, let's get on to your pointless deaths, because there's plenty.
There are plenty, so many so that I just highlighted my two least favorite. So the most pointless deaths have been all as of late. As referenced earlier, the death of Wolverine was very underwhelming, but moreover, they definitely could have gone without killing off Thor, as it really didn't do anything for comics. No. At this point, more often than not, feels unoriginal, because death is supposed to feel significant, and because it's happening all the time now, it takes the shock value out of it, and it would really take a good writer to make it make sense nowadays. More recently, it's probably one of my pointless deaths, but at least they made sense. Spider-Man died and became the superior Spider-Man for a little while, and so the storyline with that and Dr. Octopus was actually creative. Still not necessarily called for, but it was necessary. But at least they made sense. And like the same thing with Daredevil, I think he got killed off recently, but it was kind of like the same thing as like The Dark Knight Returns. It's supposed to be his final story, and so everything that's coming out now is prior to that passing. So like there's like creative outlets for deaths now, but most of the characters dying regularly just are being brought back, and it doesn't have the same shock value that Superman had when he died and resurrected.
That's a pretty good list. You know, I agree with you on all your points there. You want to know a few of my pointless deaths? This is very current. Alfred. How about Alfred being dead right now? That sucks, dude. The ghost of Alfred is cool, but at the same time, just give me Alfred. Like, we didn't need to kill Batman's butler. What he'd do. He's a good dude. But anywho, that's pointless as hell. Pretty much when Batman died, quote unquote, in Snyder's run, that was pointless. When Jim Gordon became Batman, that was silly as hell. It's not even like a full-on death, but it's just like, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, come on. You're always doing the death of stuff. Like, we want the original. Play the hits, dude. Just play the hits. But, you know, and then other than that, who was I going to say? The Wasp. She got eaten by the Blob in, like, the Ultimate line, and, like, she's got eaten by the Blob, so it's like, well, why'd you do that? It was like literally just to like exploit death at that point.
Sounds pretty cool.
And then Panther by Superboy Prime. Primetime knocked her head off in Infinite Crisis.
Oh yeah, that shit
like,
was wild.
Yeah, like I mean, it was cool, but at the same time, didn't have to happen. Well, to her necessarily. Him punching somebody had to happen.
Superboy Prime's like coolness though.
It is cool. He's way cooler because of that. He's hardcore. Yeah, dude.
He is cooler because of that.
So yeah, I agree. That's my list, but I just remembered one thing when we were talking about why some people stay dead. How could we forget Aqua Baby? Aquaman's son who got strangled out by Black Manta? He been dead, dude. He stays dead. Why did they even do that, though, in the first place? Why did they literally let Aquaman and Mera they have a child, and then Black Manta comes and snuffs him out? It's like Black Manta's so hateful.
Yeah, yes. But that also adds to Black Manta's coolness, too.
Right. But how come nobody thinks about, like, Aquaman's tragedy? Like, everyone ignores it. Everybody
ignores it, especially, like, when he had the hook for the arm.
Yeah. Like,
nobody gave a fuck.
Yeah, dude. Now he looks like Jason Momoa, and everyone's like, you got different.
Did you get a haircut?
When'd you get tribal tattoos? You The Rock?
Yeah, so. Well, that pretty much concludes my list. I know I'm missing a few deaths. However, that's the biggest poll. I think we covered most of it.
Yeah, and to sum my opinion, I feel like most of the deaths happening right now and that have happened, most are pointless, honestly. Didn't need to happen. You're just trying to change things up and you don't know how. But, you know, sometimes it does give a book juice, so I understand why they do it. They do put up numbers. I don't know why you guys keep buying them because we don't. But
it does give juice. I think it's a way for these publishers to make money too, because even though they know that the character is going to be brought back and we know the character is going to be brought back,
yeah,
readers have to pay for how they come back. You know what I mean?
But at the same time, why don't we just go back to making like anthology like style books? Like, why don't we put out DC Comics Presents and Marvel Premiere and just try out new characters? Because when you kill one of these characters, you're just trying to replace them with a new character. And it's just like back in the day, they weren't killing everybody willy-nilly, and they were just putting out books like that, you know, showcase stuff like that, you know, just, hey, here's a new character, try it out. It's like, go back to that, let the ideas present themselves, and maybe we can cut down on the deaths. Which, oh, by the way, I liked in X-Men, Hox and Pox. Though the way that they deal with death now is honestly like a perfect remedy for how like death is in comics. It's like you just get reborn pretty much, because how many times are you gonna explain someone dying and they come back? I feel like that should be like you get a like one good excuse type deal. It's like, what, you just chucking people in Lazarus pits left and right? You got a little kiddie pool full of it in your backyard. It's like, come on, relax.
That's a good point to bring back like stuff like DC Presents and kind of trial and error things out, because like the deaths early on in comics felt way more significant because there weren't so many alibis to bring them back, as opposed to now it's it's just so overly saturated that it doesn't have the same impact. And so you're absolutely right. It seems more like a business decision now as to like the characters dying just so we can bring in a new character. But I feel like there's better ways of introducing those characters. And then
that's all it is.
Because of that, there would be more shock value when characters actually die. And I would honestly, as morbid as this sounds, like to see more characters who actually die stay dead, because it doesn't really do much now that we know that there's like an out for all of these characters. Like there's no line left to cross.
Yeah, there's always a way back somehow, though. So we're going to keep dealing with this until comics cease publishing. So
and Harold comes back.
Yeah, when Harold comes back, we know that we're all screwed. Harold has to stay down, dude. You got tossed up.
Yeah.
But you know what? I think that's a cap for this episode for me. You have any final thoughts?
I don't. I apologize on behalf of, this being a little bit of a shorter episode, but I thought it might be interesting for some as, this is pretty unique topic to the comic book world. When characters die in other mediums, it feels a little more permanent, but because characters come and go so frequently, we found it would be a good topic to bring up for the podcast.
So with that, you know where to check us out. Go to Instagram at CBJ Pod. You go to Facebook at CBJ Podcast or type in Comic Book Junkies. Oh, by the way, if you like to be on Facebook, you can listen to our podcast on there. We have the entire catalog and a new post comes out as they are released. So make sure to like, subscribe, rate us on your favorite podcast site, app, whatever you use. Please do it. It'll help us out with our reach. But you know what? Keep on doing you. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Very last thing to note, next episode to finish the year, we are going to be watching the new Spider-Man movie that comes out, and we are going to review that for you guys. We figured it'd be a great way to cap the year, and it seems like a pretty big movie for the Marvel Universe, so we're pretty excited about that, and we hope you guys are too. With that being said, take care, guys.